And it brings us to our bikes. To be kicked off by Patrick Evans in the KTM, Austrian-built KTM. The KTM gradually doing better and better in MotoGP. I think they first entered MotoGP 3 years ago or so. But this is Patrick Evans in his KTM 244cc, 250 class he's running in. And we have the perennial argument between foot down or not foot down, and between long travel suspension versus short travel suspension. And I think in hill climbing, foot down and long travel is the way to go, but we'll see. He's followed by 313 Simon Wilson into the 350cc on his Yamaha RD350. See, that's short travel suspension and feet up all the way. So effectively road bikes rather than motocross bikes. We've got a time for Patrick Evans of 53.61. Oh, just rescued it. That's Simon Wilson on the Yamaha. Almost overcooked it into the left-hand of the start of the S's. Managed to heave it round at the last second and safely up towards the finish, but it's cost him 2 or 3 seconds, I think. 60.07. Followed by Mike Tilley on this Honda 280. Bit of a wheelie out of Ed Torres, but no harm done. And very quickly round Pardon. This, I think, will be a quick run on the 280cc Honda. Off the line comes Mick Lovelock on a 350cc KTM. And here's, I think, our oldest bike, John Bottomley's Velocet. Velocet, big maker of very rapid bikes. They were very competitive pre-war and into the 30s and into the 40s and 50s. But then, like so much of the British motorcycle industry, they faded away against the competition from Japan. Jamie Mitchell finished with a very quick time, 47.96. That was quick. Now, what's happened to the Velocet? I didn't see how it stopped, but it has stopped, and poor John Bottomley is struggling. Let's have a look at a replay. Japan. Jamie Mitchell. The engine gave up the ghost halfway round Pardon. I think probably they'll turn John Bottomley round and he'll coast back down the hill. So the following bike, which I think was Pat Dolan, has been red flagged, and he'll go straight back down to the paddock. We've got Doug Parnell on the line in the 450 Yamaha. Doug is always quick, but that was an amazing run from Jamie Mitchell, 47.96. So Pat Dolan returns and will line up in 2 or 3 runs' time on the start line. The Velocet has coasted back down the hill. Let's hope it was nothing serious. It sounds as if the engine's running again. So maybe put the plug lead back on and off you go. On the line, 5.31 is Doug Parnell. Can he match the 47.96 of Jamie Mitchell? That would be pretty good. He's on the ZRF Yamaha. Nicely off the line. 2.45 is quick. Bikes are quick, of course they accelerate very quickly, but first 64 feet doesn't really match a proper racing car with, either 2 or 4 driven wheels and very sticky tires. Let's see how Doug gets on. Pat Dolan on his way. We'll catch up with him soon. He's on another TM Racing 450. But meanwhile, Doug Parnell, no, he's not going to match the time of Jamie Mitchell. Here's Pat Dolan between Ettore and Pardon. Late braking, almost too late braking, but gets around around Pardon okay. Quick gear shift or two on the way into the S's. Nice line through the S's. Doug Parnell finished with a 46.26. And Pat Dolan has done a quick time, 51.67. Behind them comes Richard Peaty on the 450 Husqvarna. Swedish bike, of course. And he's the long travel foot down brigade. A lot of these long travel suspension, they lock down the front suspension on the line, click it down to avoid doing a wheelie off the line, and then as soon as they're going above a certain speed, it unlocks itself and you get the full travel of the suspension. Here's Paul Jeffrey, 638cc KTM. Followed by Guy Ursel, and they're proudly displaying the numbers from last year's championship, which means that Paul was 3rd and Guy was 8th, and Paul's finished with a 49.51. And Guy with a 49.96, so pretty close. Off the line goes Neil Tamlin with a 600 Yamaha TTR. Does that mean TT replica? Don't know, but here he comes anyway into semicircle. How's the time clicking by? 48. Oh dear, he's dropped it. That's a shame. He's okay. Just damaged pride and a bit of a scrape by one of the footrests. Quickly turn the fuel off and then get help lifting it. They're heavy things. That's Neil Tamlin. Patiently waiting on the line is Mike Fiddler on a 650 Suzuki. Is it water cooled? I think maybe not, because he switched it off to avoid overheating it. And it's so easy for the thing just to slide away from you, and luckily we can't read his read his thoughts. They probably weren't very polite. But he's painted some interesting lines on the surface at Ettores. Family members often get worried when they see the ambulance arriving, but it's part of the drill. Whenever there's a spill, if you like, the rescue team comes just in case.
We'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our live stream partner for today's British Hill Climb Championship and Cup meeting, Footman James. BHC Cup main sponsors, Footman James, have been at the heart of the classic vehicle movement for over 35 years and provide specialist classic vehicle insurance cover to owners, collectors, restorers and traders. Their classic car and classic bike insurance policies come with show and events cover as standard. Plus, you can tailor your policy to suit your needs with their flexible FJ Plus options. These options have everything from agreed value to track day cover. To find out more, please visit www.footmanjames.co.uk.
So this will be Neil wheeling his bike back. Not sure why he's not riding it. Okay, sorry for the delay. No harm done to Neil Tamlin. Not sure why he was forced to walk his bike back to the paddock rather than riding it back. But on the line we got Mike Fiddler. Mike on the 650 Suzuki. Red flags are in, so he'll be off, which he is. And a goodish start, 2.37 off the line, that's great. What's his speed through bridge? 53. Down a couple of gears, and the correct late apex at Ed Torres. Up a gear, down a gear. Well round Pardon. Obviously, so there was a slight slide, but he's really getting it round these rather tricky bends pretty well. He's followed by Chris Keats on a KTM 560. There he goes, and he was doing 61 a bit quicker under the bridge. Mike has finished with a 54.26. Chris safely past the autograph on the road from Neil. Hugs the inside verge at the apex of Pardon. And Harvey Mills follows. We'll see him in a few seconds' time on again another KTM. KTM really did specialise up in Sweden on motocross bikes. It's a very big sport in Scandinavia. Nice close-up of Chris going round Ed Torres. A lot of the MotoGP riders would stick a leg out, wouldn't they, on the way into the bend, really for air braking and not putting their foot down. It was part of slowing the thing down. I must confess to really enjoying watching MotoGP. There's so much action, particularly in terms of overtaking, something that hopefully in Formula One we'll get more of this year, but in previous years has been a fairly rare commodity. This is Tommy on the Team GV KTM into semicircle. We've got a time for Harvey Mills of 51.67. Can Tommy 48.6, good time, but still not down below the 47.99 of our leader. Ron King fairly gently round Pardon. Taking it sensibly, just feeling his way nicely through the S's. Less sensible is Stu Mills on his KTM. He's going really quickly. Where are we? Stu Mills heads towards the finish. It won't be under 50 seconds. It's just over 50.72. David Peat on board the KTM 800, or 796 to be precise, is in the S's. And he's followed by Alan Jolly, who has often starred in this competition. Lots of acceleration, lots of power, lifts the front wheel out of Ed Torres. So there's plenty of power there in this 1 litre KTM. David Peat finishes with a 51.3. This is Alan Jolly, followed by Matthew Mogridge round Ed Torres. Alan not quite under 50 seconds, 50.65. Let's watch Matthew Mogridge, how he takes late entry into Pardon, works quite well, lines it up to accelerate fast out of Pardon, and then attacking the S's with a degree of caution, sensibly. This is their first run, they get another run, so they've had an opportunity to see what the surface is like. This is interesting. Nigel Wheatley on board a BSA rocket. Must be one of the last of the bikes produced by BSA before it all went the way of British motorcycles, until Triumph came along and really recovered the motorcycle industry, producing a terrific range of bikes and very successful both in the home market and overseas. Norton made all sorts of comebacks but never really made it. And over the finishing line shortly will be Dave Norris on his KTM Duke, 53.75. We're still looking for somebody to get into or below the 47s. Here's Mark Williams. Is this the first Honda we've seen? No, the second I think, but a 1 litre Honda. And Keith Cooper on the Yamaha. He was, is this Keith? No, it's Mark Williams. Keith Cooper has finished with a 66.15. This is Mark Williams again. And we're into our three-wheelers, our trikes, with brave passengers doing their acrobatics to try and keep their wheel on the ground. Mark Williams, 56.47. This is John and Isaac Warren on the Suzuki, followed by Simon and Jane Foster on their well-known F2 Honda. Where are John, Isaac and Warren? They are getting nearer the finish, but let's watch Simon and Jane for the moment. Jane really hanging out as far as she can go, hoping that Simon will keep her clear of the trees on the inside of Pardon. Time is clicking by, has clicked by for John and Isaac Warren with a 52.81. So Simon and Jane are our last runners in the British Motorcycle Hill Climber Sprint Championship runners, and they record a good time of 51.36. Up tonight. And we got our first of our bikes on the line, which is the KTM of Patrick Evans, one of two bikes in the 250cc class. Long travel suspension, front forks dip down, and Patrick opens the throttle wide, couple of gear changes, then into Air Tours into Pardon without hanging the tail out, and off the line goes Simon Wilson in the 350 Yamaha. So we haven't got George Scott in his Yamaha in the 250s. And behind Simon comes Mike Tilley in the little Honda, but in the meantime we've got a time for Patrick Evans of 53.96. Here's Simon Wilson in the Yamaha. He's followed by Mike Tilley on this little Honda 280. Then we've got off the line, we've got Jamie Mitchell, 5th in the championship last year. We've got a time for Simon Wilson of 56.29. Mike Tilley well on his way. Jamie Mitchell follows. Here is Jamie Mitchell on his way up to Pardon. And off the line comes John Bottomley, not on the Velocette. He's gone home and swapped bikes. Do you remember the Velocette gave trouble in the first runs this afternoon? But Jamie Mitchell really heaves the BRC through the S's, and John Bottomley somewhat, it looks like is it a Gilera or Ducati, I'm not sure. Looks rather an Italian bike, and nice though. So perhaps John Bottomley has got a collection of bikes at the bottom of his garden. Time for Mike Tilley, 51.62. And Jamie Mitchell, good time, 48.44. John Bottomley still going. Someone might be able to tell us what that bike is. He's followed by Pat Dolan on the 450 TM Racing. So John has finished with a 71.27. Pat Dolan into S's. Doug Parnell, well-known hill climber, on his ZRF Yamaha on his way. And here he is going into a Torres. John Bottomley ended up with 71.27. So it's not really a hill climbing bike, but he had fun on it. Pat Dolan has got a 51.84. What can Doug Parnell do? I think our quickest bike was a 47.99 this morning, early this afternoon. Where's Doug? Doug must be heading for the finish. Followed by Richard Peaty into S's. Doug did a 55.74. And here's Paul Jeffrey, 3rd in the championship last year on a KTM. Richard Peaty on the Husqvarna does a 53.38. On the line, Guy Ursel in another KTM, but in the meantime we're watching Paul Jeffrey, highly experienced, very quick. Can he get it into the late 40s? We shall see. Good one, 48.56. Off the line, Robert Mercer in this really interesting Triumph 675, but in the meantime we're watching Guy Ursel on his 600 KTM. He might get it under the 50-second mark just. And we're watching Robert Mercer in and out of Pardon. 50.03 for Guy. What can Robert Mercer do on the Triumph 675? Really interesting bike, interesting shape. He can do a 51.82. I think Neil Tamlin was quick in the first runs. But he'll be mid-50s, I think. Here's Mike Fiddler into Pardon on the Suzuki. Off the line goes Chris Keats in the 560 KTM. Here's Mike in the S's. and Chris Keats. Lots of gear changing between Ed Torres and Pardon. Mike Fiddler 52.66. Harvey Mills, count the gear changes, 1, 2, 3, and then into Pardon hairpin. Nice line through Pardon, gets the power down nice and early. Harvey Mills in the meantime now into straightening up the S's as much as he possibly can. Triple 7 Tommy Hodges, again as 628 KTM. Harvey Mills 53.4, Chris Keats 53.47, so it's all pretty close in this class. Very much a road bike, Ron King's Suzuki 650. And Tommy Hodges records a 59.92. Meanwhile, Ron King on his road-going Suzuki through semicircle, to be followed by Stu Mills on a big engine KTM 1300cc. That's number 6, so 6 in the championship last year. Can Stu get under 50 seconds? Not quite, 50.65. David Peat. I'm always interested to watch the right hand on the twist script to see how many gear changes take place between Torres and Pardon. This is David Peat. Rounding Pardon, Alan Jolly. Where's David Peat? He's done a 52.74. Alan Jolly isn't sporting a 1 to 10 number. I'm sure in the past he's been in the top 10 in the championship, but maybe this is a new bike to him. Meanwhile, Matthew Mogridge, big Suzuki, into Pardon. 50.71 for Alan Jolly. Matthew Mogridge, where is he? He's in the S's. And Nigel Wheatley has taken off in the BSA Rocket, which really rocketed off the line. But it's a fairly elderly road bike, so don't expect crazy things. Matthew Mogridge, 57.71. On the line, Dave Norris on a KTM Duke. I don't know if that's a Ducati engine in a KTM frame, I'm not sure. So Nigel Wheatley on the BSA has finished with a 58.9. We're watching Dave Norris on the KTM Duke. Just nudged the grass, but no problems. Dave Norris records a 53.54. Keith Cooper just entering pardon now, and Mark Williams has taken off the line in the 1 litre Honda VTR. And then we're left with only one three-wheeler. Which is Simon and Jane Foster on their well-known trike. Keith Cooper must be nearing the finish. .66.81. Straightening up the S's is Mark Williams. And then we've got Simon and Jane Tape. Completing our bikes in on their Honda F2. Mark Williams, 56.15. I wonder if that 49 was it 49 or 47.99? I'm not sure. This morning there was a very quick time, and when I looked at it I thought, is that right? But presumably it is, otherwise it would have been taken away. Now Simon and Jane rounding semicircle, and they record a 51.29. 51.29, that's our bikes. What comes next? I think we go back to traffic to a close today, and what we now have is the top 10 runoff of the motorcycles. And we're kicked off by Robert Mercer in the amazing Triumph 675. So presumably he qualified in 10th place in the class runs. Nice bike. Interesting. Don't know what, that's a sort of cover over the pillion. Maybe for aerodynamic purposes, but certainly to put the number on. Next up will be Mike Tilley. He was quick in this little Honda 280. And he'll be followed by David Peat on the 800cc KTM. Here's Mike Tilley whistling the little Honda round at Torres. Rob Mercer has finished on the Triumph with a 51.4. That's a good time. David Peat, very rapid first 64 feet of 2.06 and 61 miles an hour under the bridge. Here's David. Then we get to see Simon and Jane again, which is great. We've got a time for Mike Tilley of 50.98. Can David Peat get in the 49s? We shall see very shortly. He's just emerging from the S's. Off the line goes Simon and Jane. Jane really hanging out round Orchard to keep her wheel on the ground, then heaves herself over to behind Simon. She's the star of the show as far as I'm concerned. Talk about courage. We have a time for David Peat of 52.5. 52.5. On the line is Alan Jolly. He's quick. We shall see. Simon using every inch of the road out of the S's. Nice tight line round semicircle. Their time 51.48. Good time. Excellent. Now, what can Alan Jolly do? Oh. He's been sent back. He's been ticked off by the clerk of the course. This isn't Alan Jolly, this is Stu Mills on the road going KTM. Still quick, 62 under the bridge, and a good start, 2.2, so this will be a rapid climb. Especially when you consider that it's basically a road bike rather than a specific sprint hill climb bike. Really rapidly around Pardon. He's got a 1300 engine, so there's plenty of grunt there, but it still takes some weaving round the bends at Prescott. So Alan Jolly is now on his way. There. And Stu Mills into the 40s with a 49.9. Excellent. Now, what can Alan Jolly do? Very experienced. And Guy Ursel follows on round at Tories, but let's keep an eye on the clock for Alan. 51.1. So I think that nudges him into third place in this runoff. Here's Guy Ursel. Time to beat 49.9. 49.9. We've got two more runners. We've got Paul Jeffrey, and we've got Jamie Mitchell as well. Now then, Guy Ursel, 49.02, quickest. Tommy Hodges, I think is taking it fairly gently, but I might be wrong. Here's Paul Jeffrey, our penultimate rider today. Let's keep an eye on Tommy. Yeah, he was cruising for not getting a bruising. 67.59, just doing it for the fun of a third runoff run. Now then, Paul Jeffrey, though, he's facing a 49.02 to nudge into top spot, and he's followed by Jamie Mitchell. The clock is ticking. Yes, 48.46. Well done. Well done, Paul Jeffrey. Can Jamie Mitchell knock him off the top step of the podium? Takes as straight a line as possible through the S's and every inch of the track coming out. Foot down round semicircle. Going really quickly. 48.37, yes. By a tenth of a second, Jamie Mitchell takes top honours in the motorcycle runoff, which is a good note on which to finish what's been an interesting, quite long day